Since the launch of FC25, there's been a whole host of new settings added to the game. This is something we've been calling out for a long time for us career mode fans, is that we get more settings when setting up our game save, because in the past, they were very minimal, but this time round, we actually have quite a few settings to choose from. And with this potentially being a year where career mode players might decide that they're going to come back to the game or just not play the game at all, we're going to go through some of those settings today that give you a reason why you should be playing it. And it only makes sense that we start off with the best. And I mean from the bottom of my heart, the absolute best new setting that we have in FC25. And it's the ability to turn off sacking. Yes, that's right. Finally in the game. How many years, right, have we been calling out for them to add this? And just be like, come on, EA, please, just give us the ability to just not be sacked. We don't care. You don't have to, like, even improve the objectives that you've currently got done. Just make it so we don't have to get sacked for not reaching the round of 16 of the FA Cup, or for not signing free players from Asia, even though we're League 2 Swindon. We now have the ability to do that. And this is really, it's good, right? So we've done a test recently. The video should be up at this point by the time this one goes up, of the objectives in general, whether you should use them. And I'm going to state this once again, I would only ever use these objectives as harsh and to basically do a challenge career mode as literally the only time I would use them. Now, when it comes to the objectives as well, they did add this very recently, and it's the ability to choose what you're judged on. I would like a little bit more freedom when it comes to this setting on what we're going to be judged on. But as you can see there, club growth objectives, if we turn it off, we are strictly going to be assessed on just domestic and continental success. So this does alleviate some of it in terms of like sign free players from this nation, because even on 4 or 5, maybe 6 attempts of loading up different saves, there is always an objective of a nation that you have to sign players from. But I mean, this one is good in my opinion. I actually really like the fact that you can change it to just domestic and continental, but it doesn't. And I straight up, it does not alleviate the fact that you are still going to be asked to reach the round of 16 in the FA Cup. In fact, in every sim that I've loaded up, the rebuilds that I've done and the sim testing on the video I did, you still always get round of 16 in the FA Cup, so I imagine you get it as a lower league side as well. But the only time this year that I will do this and use objectives would be if I was challenging myself. I'm trying to do some kind of challenge career mode, and I'm going to go through and try and achieve all the objectives. From my personal standpoint, I play the game as a sandbox, and I'm turning off sacking every time. Now, there was also some new additions in the transfer settings. I mean, you can already tell here by the screen, there's huge additions. If you're determining whether you're going to pick the game up or not, I think a lot of these settings could change your mind, and that's why I think this video is perfect. Now, when it comes to the transfers, you can disable it. I would not disable it. The transfers is like the most fun in career mode, so why the hell would you do that? But if you're doing Youth Academy only, then maybe disable it. You could disable the first window, but I want you to know this, and this still hasn't been fixed, and I hope that this gets fixed. If you disable the first window because you're trying to replicate real life, because we still don't have live saves in the game, if you go down to transfer negotiations, you can't change it, and it's annoying because you should be able to put this to realistic, which is exactly what I would want. But for some strange reason, you disable the first window. That's not an option. And I don't know. You can go loans only. None of them really matter. The transfer embargo does open up fun and different saves you can do. Mainly, I think most people would say Man City right now. Take over Man City and give them a transfer embargo for a few seasons. I mean, you could pick any club in Italy. They all get in trouble. They're all a little bit match fixy. But I do feel like this gives a little bit more depth, a little bit more replayability to career mode in terms of realism. Doesn't really do much. But we did have transfer approaches before as strict and loose. Now, you don't just have to have strict and loose. You can have realistic, like I showed you before, and set the transfer negotiations to realistic. Your offers are more likely to be negotiated and rejected. Is this an exact science where you're going to see more realistic transfers in your save? No. You're just going to have teams negotiate with you more and try and bargain a bit more for your players, but also at the same time try and get more money out of you for their players, which, especially when you're going for a star player, it is a bit of a boost. So I am enjoying realistic. Now, as we stay on the transfers and scouting, you can choose whether you want scouting on or off. You can choose whether you want the search player system on or off. Again, this is EA really has given you fun stuff this year in terms of you can make challenge career modes, and we're going to do one on the channel very soon. season, and I'm actually looking forward to it. But it's making it so I can't search for players. So you're forced into using the scouting system, and I think that's fantastic. And you can choose if you get your scout reports back instant or not. I still like to use the scouting system, but I will admit in the past, it has taken a long time sometimes. And when you're in deadline day and you really want that scout report back, it's frustrating. I will admit I've used instant for star players because, let's be honest, I don't need my scout to go out and tell me that Lionel Messi is an unbelievable player. I know it. I know a lot of the world's best players. You know they're the world's best players. I don't need them to be scouted, but I do like to stick with, I think, is it normal rate? No, it's fast. I like fast scout reports. You can choose what you want, man. This is up to you. You craft and create whatever career mode you want to do. For the first time, we can actually do that. Another new setting that they've added, and I think this is sick, is match suspensions and player injuries. You can add injuries in. Now, I will say this straight off the bat. I would have preferred you to be able to start with real life injuries. You could do it in NBA 2K. I can't remember if you could do it in Madden or not, but you could do it in 2K. So it would have been nice to be able to start with real life injuries, but you can add all kinds of stuff. So let's pick a player here. I am going to go for... Who cares? I'm going Harrison Reed. And I can give him suspensions. I can say he's out for a certain length of time. You can only do up to a max of 10, but you can give him a 10-game ban for being Harrison Reed. Whatever you want to do, you could do with that in terms of suspensions, but the player injury bit is probably the biggest thing for me. You could go and add whatever injuries you want. So you can only do it to the team that you're going to be taking over. I should mention this. You can't go and do it to other teams, which I guess makes sense because I would just go straight away to Manchester United and give everybody an injury. But you can only do it to the team you're in charge of. But that does add the realism that if you're taking over a particular team, they have a certain player out for a long time. Let's say you're doing Man City and you want to put De Bruyne and Rodri out to make it more difficult and more realistic. You can now do this. This is a bonus. This is improvement. And this was added after the game came out. So we should all be happy about this because EA do not normally do that. They've also added some new settings when it comes to training. You can have training plans on, or I wish it said off. Always full is basically off, right? You will always have 100 of sharpness and fitness. Do not use fixed rate. If you have got to this part of the video and you've already used fixed rate, I'm sorry. We did a video earlier on about sharpness and fitness, and I mentioned don't use fixed rate. It's not been patched. It's not been fixed, and I'm not sure it is going to be fixed. Fixed rate's broken. It doesn't work. Trust me. If you started fixed rate, and then afterwards you're like, oh, god damn, do I have to restart? You do. You cannot change basically all of these settings. You cannot change them once you start a game. That is the biggest thing you need to remember. Once you're in a game, once you've started it, these settings can then not be changed. Don't use fixed rate. Always full's fine if you don't want to do the training plans. I've got them on. I'm doing manual and automated. The recovery rate's at default, but you can make them light so people recover quicker, or you can make it realistic so that they recover like less. I think in future career modes, I probably will go realistic as long as it works well. I've found that if you're good with the automation, you never ever have to worry about a player recovering, and that's a little bit frustrating. You can decide if you want to keep the training drills on, and you could change the development rate after playing the game now for about 100 hours. Seniors is absolutely fine in my opinion. It's really hard to get good players from the youth academy in terms of if you're doing a big team, you're never going to get to use any of these players because by the time you're good, the players are only just ready to enter the first team. So I would go on fast if you're a big team. I'd just go on fast. Even if you're a smaller team, why wouldn't you want to use your youth academy players sooner? I would go on fast development rate for youth players all the way. I went normal in the Spurs series. I'm regretting it. I will be going fast from now on. You have new slider settings this year, but I've done a slider video. Go and watch that if you want to know, but there is a lot more sliders this year. There is wind effects, there are weather effects, and that is all pretty cool. And then apart from that, you're going to have the youth tournament length. Youth tournament. What do I say about the youth tournament? You're going to play it. You're going to play a couple of games of Rush. You're not going to play it again. It's pretty boring and it's really cheesy because it gives you a massive boost in terms of the potential. It's not for me. It's not for me in the way I play career mode. And then in the quick settings, these are what you're going to have. Really, that is it. You can still do a financial takeover, but that's been in the game in the past. But I don't think you could do this much, right? I think you could do up to 200 million. You can now do up to 1 billion. The thing with this financial takeover, I wish we could do the opposite. I wish I could go in and give us miners money. I could go in and put a team in debt and then have to sell players to build my way out. I would really love that. I hope that's maybe something they do in the long run. But as you can see, if you've been playing FIFA, you've been playing FC, these are kind of additions that we really wanted in career mode, and I really can't complain that we finally got some more depth. I'm just hoping that this isn't one of those things that they've made and then they don't touch for ages now. Keep adding more settings to this. Keep giving us more ways to customize our career mode. Keep adding things to this. There's so much more they could add to this in the long run that, oh, just please EA, please continue to keep adding to this. But that's going to be it for the video. Pretty short and sweet. I just wanted to put it out there because there might be some people that are contemplating, do they pick up the game? Don't get me wrong, it isn't that wildly different. Should you wait for a sale? Most likely. But I think if you were going to give a FIFA a try again, this is probably the year. I'm actually really enjoying the game, and I'm enjoying the level that I can customize my save. And if you're on the edge, I think this is probably the year for it, especially if you were a Football Manager player. That's now been put back until next year. Now it could be the time to pick up this game. Plus, we're going to be getting a winter sale. We're going to be getting a Christmas sale soon, I would have thought. I mean, last year, I think it went down by 50%. I'm not expecting this year. I feel like the game's probably been better received, but I could be wrong. Some people really hate the gameplay this year. But in terms of career mode and settings, it's a win for me. But anyway, that's it for this one. I appreciate you all. New to the channel, smash subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.